as the young guys are willing to learn and listen, and you know what, I throw them in. Like my outfield coach, Matt Sedlock, does a great job. I lost TJ Ersham. He went to have kids and get his business going, and TJ was phenomenal, and we won state titles together. Well, he moved on, and he may be back someday. So then the next guy steps in, Matt Sedlock, right, who played at Roanoke College, and said he was a young coach, and and his personality, he's just a great guy, and he's got to learn the art of tough love, and so he's come along. I couldn't be more proud of him, and it's just been great. And so anyway, it's developing coaches is as fun as developing players.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
I ask a kid why he plays well in 12U, 11U, 10U, 9U. When they're little, it should be, and my son taught me this, my older son. The why should be because it's fun. It's fun. Now, natural evolution of a player, when they get to 12, now big field 13 or 50, 70 field, it's still got to be fun. But now I want to see how good I can be. I want to see if I can be pretty good at this. Then you get to middle school, and the why becomes, I want to make my high school team. I want to be a high school player, okay? And at some point, so the why is going to change, okay? And so what I believe in is, let them play Little League.
To be able to reach the highest levels of this game, you got to work hard. You got to get in the cages. You got to do your strength and conditioning. You got to throw your bullpens. There's all of this physical stuff that you need to do, and you need to work hard at it. But don't forget that you also have to get better at the mental side of the game. And one of the ways you can do that is increase baseball IQ by downloading and using the 6-Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use 6-Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6-Tool. Get ahead in the game.
I kind of feel like I owe everyone an explanation. I haven't released an episode in, I think it's about 5 weeks or so. And, life is a funny thing. Sometimes, we're hit with things that we really don't expect. And kind of puts everything into perspective. We say all of the time that we talk about really teaching life lessons through baseball. And the last year has been, we'll say like a rocky road for me. And lately I've dealt with another health issue that nobody ever wants to hear. But in the end, everything's going to work out, not going to be a problem. But it made me start to think, what's really important in life? Number one, right off the bat, is your family. Your family and God. Those are your first number one things in life that are really important, okay? And relationships. The relationships that you build with people are so important also. Respect for one another. Discipline, leadership, perseverance, resilience, dealing with pressure, performing under stress. These are all things that we teach through baseball that when you get this kind of news that I've just received, you realize what's really, really important. And all of these things that I just mentioned are the things that you're going to reach back and grab, because these are the things that are really important. These are the things that you need to know. I just felt like I owed everybody an explanation of why I haven't put out a show. And like I said, everything's going to be fine. I just had to deal with things for a few weeks that kind of took me away from this. And, you know, the other thing, too, is that my high school season has started, so that's been keeping me busy. But I just felt like I owed everybody an explanation for why I haven't been here. And you know what? We're hitting the ground running, and we're going to continue on with a great show. So, is there really a better way to pick things back up again than bringing on one of the best high school coaches in the country? Tonight, our guest is Mark Pudge Gjormand, and let me tell you just a little bit about him because, and I don't want to give it all away because I really want to get into this stuff in the conversation, but he's been coaching at James Madison High School in Virginia for 30 years. He has led the Warhawks to 14 Liberty Conference championships and 4 Concord Conference titles. He has also won 4 regional championships and 4 Virginia state titles, establishing the James Madison High School program as one of the best in Virginia and the country. He is also the founder of MVP International, a provider of world-class competitive and cultural sports trips, as well as the MVP Baseball School. So when I told you he was one of the best coaches, high school coaches in the country, I wasn't joking, because anybody that knows anything about high school baseball, what I just rattled off is not easy. Welcome to the show, Pudge. I'm glad to see you again.
Jimmy, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's always great to be with you. So, like I said, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a treat. So, you know, let's start with a little bit around all of those, you know, titles that you have and state championships. What's the secret?
You know what? Great players, great coaches, a great staff, great community. We have a town that's baseball crazy, sports crazy town of Vienna. About 20, 25 minutes from DC in the suburbs. Um, and just like I said, it's a town I grew up in. I'm living the dream. I'm coaching at the high school I wanted to be at, and grew up 2 minutes from the school. And it's just it's awesome. And you know what? The key is getting kids to buy in. When I took the job at Madison back in I started my first season, not spring of '96, but I started that fall of '95. Madison always had a great tradition before, but they had kind of fallen on some hard times. And the coach before me was a legend, great guy, one of the best people you'll ever meet. God rest his soul, and Don Roth. But he started losing kids to lacrosse and things like that, and things were changing a little bit. So when I came in, just kind of had to give it new energy and go from there. And I was told by a number of coaches, like, look, man, that's a great, stop for you, but you're gonna have to go to the bigger schools because at the time Madison had 2,000 kids, and a school 2 miles from us, it had gosh, with 3,500 kids. So but I didn't agree. I said, heck, I only need 9. So it takes 9 on a baseball field, and I said, well, I'm just going to show you, and I'm going to prove to you. And that was just living the dream. And you know what? We've built the kit culture. We kind of brought back that. We have the tradition never graduates saying, like, as we have a lot of those cliches, right? But it is what it is, and every kid in our town wants to put the hem on their hat. They grow up. We get kids that move in from out of town. They want to buy a house in Vienna. Today it's easy. They go on the internet and they read it, and it's great. I'm glad kids want to be a part of it. I'm glad kids want, and like I said, we're a sports school, man. The football coaches, my pitching coach has been with me since 2000. They went to a state title in football this year. I mean, Justin Counts does a heck of a job. And like I said, I've got a lot of my former players that are with us. So we just got great tradition, great kids, and man, they go to work. These kids come in, and we were fortunate. We had a Bryce Eldridge first rounder a couple of years ago. We had James Triantos in 21. We currently have 5 kids playing professionally since 2016. Kyle Hayes, Kyle Novak, Colin Tuft. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. We're enjoying it. I'm having a blast, and I feel like I've only been doing it 5 years, to be honest. I guess that's a good thing. Keeps me young. So
Absolutely. And I mean, we're all looking for that, right? But
mhm.
you know, but you're not giving yourself a lot of credit because it all starts at the top, right? So if you don't put together this good coaching staff, if you don't foster the relationships that you have with your players, then none of this happens.
Yeah, I get that. I understand it. It's leadership. I grew up. I always wanted to be a coach. I played, but I wasn't. I was undersized. I was, But when we were playing in the backyard as kids growing up, I wanted to. I always wanted to be a coach. I always had to be the quarterback in football. Back then it was. It was. You played football in the fall, right? You went out and played backyard football or in the snow. You played basketball or hockey during the winter. You played baseball during the spring. Like that's what we did. The other only video game excitement we had was Pong. It was terrible. So, we didn't have all these options kids have now. There was no social media. You went out, you played, and that's where you learned your IQ. And I always wanted to be in the leader. I just kind of always wanted to be the lead. I wanted to be the quarterback. I wanted to be the pitcher. I wanted to be, and so you grow up and you do that. And then I just got enamored with it. And truth be told, my first ever coaching gig, I was still in high school. My little brother, his little league team. They had a good group of kids, and the coach literally took a job flying a Goodyear blimp a week before the season. So a parent took it. He didn't know much about baseball. Said, "Hey, would you come do the baseball part, and I'll manage and do the admin?" And I would come after practices, and I would go, and we ended up going undefeated. Went to the town title game, lost 1-0, had my heart broken, and I was hooked for life, buddy. And making a difference with kids and leading. And so again, I love it. I had a vision. I went to my interview. It was a job everybody wanted. There was 34 people. I was an assistant across town for 8 years. And by the way, the most important 8 years of my coaching career, I learned from some absolute phenoms. And I was the young guy and probably a little cocky and had to learn humility, had to learn what was important, learn that this is about kids. And I think I did 9 years as assistant, 1 year as a young coach. I was really young when I started. So I was working at the Central Intelligence Agency. I was going to community college, and I took an assistant spot at Langley High School for 1 year under a great coach named Chuck Welsh, who was a mentor. Went to Marshall High School for 8 years under Dean Sisler and just met a bunch of guys. So I learned, I put my time in. I don't think too many guys do that now because coaches are always needed, right? I would tell anybody, get a mentor, be mentored. And so end of the day, took the job, got the job, interviewed my tail off, put my vision to work. Didn't have a great coaching staff. They were great people, a couple friends, a couple PE teachers, and you build it over time, but you got to take the vision, you run with it, and your passion. And like I said, and it's kind of turned to fruition. So I feel like I'm living the dream. And now kids respond. They come in. If you don't work, you don't last. And that's, where it used to be, it used to be about winning and losing. It's become so much more. It's about relationships. It's about, I've married, gosh, two of my former players. Both of them are coaches now. I've become a little bit, sometimes a part-time pastor, Pudge. So those are the greatest honors, going to their weddings. You do it. I
Yeah,
mean, this is the
absolutely.
best.
Yeah.
And the wins, they come if you do the right things and you cross your T's, dot your I's, and the winning will take care of itself. So, but it's been a great ride.
Yeah, one of the things that you said, and I've talked about this quite a few times, is about mentorship. So, I it's really important that you have that. My road, believe it or not, I've never had any mentors. I've never been an assistant coach, which is incredibly hard to be able to, I don't want to say to get anywhere because you can do it, but it's very, very hard because you have to learn all on your own. And,
And you
it's
learn
some,
under fire. You learn under fire, right?
exactly. So, I mean, I've learned from guys like you. I've learned from, so many people that I've met over the years that have helped me. So I guess I should be able to say that, yeah, maybe I didn't have a physical mentor right next to me, teaching me what to do, but I've had a ton of mentors. And like I said, guys like you, a lot of the guys that are at the youth summit, so many people I've become friends with. It's made it a little bit easier. We'll say that. But the other thing too that you mentioned was about the relationships. So I believe that almost everything that we do as coaches is all about the relationships. Uh,
Amen.
how do you feel about that?
Amen. I think it's that's where it starts. And what I think is interesting is this year, there's been years I've had 19 guys on the varsity. This year now our program, we have a lot of depth and a lot of talent in our program, a lot of good players. We had to cut a lot of really good players because we don't have freshman baseball. In our county, we have JV and varsity. So I have 27 on varsity. There's been years I've had 19. That means I have to manage 27 personalities, 52 between my JV and varsity. And when you do that, you have to be able to balance the program and what's best for the program, but you also have to be able to develop kids and develop players because every year we want to reload. We don't want to have to kind of rebuild per se. And we've been fortunate, and to do that, we've been able to reload. And you have to have some talent, but you have to have kids that are prepared. And I think what we talked about earlier, like we grew up playing in the backyard. I don't know if kids IQ wise, it's there to that point. It's not a knock on them. They're willing to work. The physicality of the game has changed a ton. The weight room's taken more precedent. We're having to deal with social media. So you're more of a CEO now. Okay. So, I just spoke at a business dinner for one of my former players. He's a CEO of a very successful company. And we had a dinner up the road a couple weeks ago. He asked me to be his guest speaker. And I had 14 very powerful people in business and was talking on team building, was talking on just on leadership. And it's interesting because I think it doesn't matter what sector you're in. I'm in business. I have my own. I'm an entrepreneur with MVP International, my baseball school, things that we're doing. So you have to be able to manage personalities. You have to be able to understand how to motivate people, hold them accountable. But with high school kids, it's hard because this, a freshman to a sophomore to a junior to a senior, it's just totally, it's different from a maturity standpoint. And so then, the physicality of an 18-year-old is so much different than the physicality of a 15 or, a 16-year-old. So I think that's what's important. I think, but it all starts with relationships. It starts and ends with that, and having conversations and, my door's open. I had a middle infielder come in yesterday. Coach, can we talk? Sure. And this kid's on a great path. He's going to be a heck of a player, but there's that learning curve. He has to learn his clock. He has to learn, to slow the game down. And, he said it best, Coach, I get more amped up in practice. The game seems to slow down. I go, that's what it's supposed to do. And so anyway, he's close and he's arrived, and that's what's fun is when you see that. And then you got other guys that are projects that and you can't give up. You got to keep trying until, and I think this year what's exciting is I've got a couple seniors. We've got 9 kids committed to play at the next level, and I love this group. And 6 of them have been with me since their sophomore year and on our 23 state championship team. So they got to play Bryce and be around that amazing group of seniors, and they've really stepped up and they're doing a great job leading. And I count on them every day to work with me, and I want their feedback on these younger personalities because that selfishness can't kick in. We're in that mode at the beginning of the season where we're trying to make sure we got a late spring break this year. I can't play those 5 games in 4 days until later in April. So I've got to keep everybody engaged and keep them working hard as we continue to grow as a team.
Yeah, I love what you said about those, upperclassmen that become leaders. Where I am now, I just took over this program last year, so I'm in my second year, and that's my focus this year is to take those guys who are now juniors, because I only have one senior this year, to take those guys that I believe are leaders and start teaching them basically what you just said, that I want you to work with the younger guys, the freshmen, the sophomore, and you guys already know what we stand for, what we do, how we do things. Let's be leaders and let's help those kids. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And how many coaches do you have? I'm just curious. Assistants.
I have 2 assistants on varsity.
Yeah. So I'm blessed. Like, we don't have we have to, all our coaches have to be under contract and go through the process. I'm a little different with 15 kids. We've got 14 coaches, right? And from my director of operations, Sarah Johnson, she's phenomenal. It allows me to coach. She handles so much of the admin and the stuff behind the scenes, but a bunch of them are former players. And, we just hired Tanner McAllister, who played at College of Charleston, moved up here. He's marrying a former manager of ours, my daughter, who's at college at Charleston, called me. She's on, obviously the general manager. I think you knew that. And
Yep.
she called and said, "Hey, Tanner's moving up," and she's the maid of honor in the wedding. She goes, "You got to hire him." So like you, once in a while, you get lucky, right? So, I've got a great staff developing the younger kids, but I got to tell you, you got to give the coaches their, I'm blessed because they're so good. So my infield coach does such a great job, Brent Weiss, and I have to delegate, right? And so I can manage, oversee, set the plan, and then it's my job to narrate practice, and it's my job to. It's hard because you get tired. I'm a fun guy. My kids may not think it sometimes, but you're playing a role, and you do what you got to do as the head coach. But one day I think I'm going to be an assistant. That would be fun to go back to it and just get to be the good cop. So, anyways, but somebody's got to push, right? So.
Yeah, well, in my case, I inherited one of the assistant varsity coaches. So last year it was just me and him. And then this year, the AD came to me and said, "Listen," he said, "I have this kid. He's 22 years old. He was helping out with the softball team last year, but I think a better fit for him is baseball. What do you think?" So I said, "Well, let's talk to him." So I did. And I said, geez, my first reaction was, I don't know. I don't, this doesn't, I'm looking for a seasoned baseball guy, and here's this 22-year-old kid. Well, Pudge, let me tell you something, okay? For a 22-year-old kid, this kid is on top of everything. And, I just keep feeding him, and he runs with it. And I got to tell you, it was a good decision because I think that give him a few years and he's going to be somebody that I'm going to be able to say, "Hey, take the infielders. I'll see you later." But yeah, that coaching staff is so important. And that's the one thing that I'm running up against now is just not having those seasoned coaches.
I'm going to name drop here. Okay. So years ago, one of the many mentors I've had in college baseball, he's now with the Yankees. Is Pat McMahon. Anybody's listened will know if they've been around long enough. Coach Mack is one of the most genuine people that I've ever met. Him, guys like him, Tommy Slater. These are the guys. And I met Pat at the first ever conference when I was a head coach at Richmond. And he's been at Mississippi State, he'd been at Old Dominion, he was then the head coach at Florida, and now he's doing player development at the Yankees. But he's a legend in our game. And he told me, he said, he showed me how he taught me the visualization of practice plans and using your imagination and making it your own, right? Which is I tell everybody he's the king of the practice plan. But he said, "Coach, when you arrive, the problem is you're going to lose coaches because everybody's going to when you get to the top, you develop them, and your job is to help young coaches become head coaches." So over the years, we've done that, and it's something I'm proud of. I'm happy for every one of them. One of them's in our conference, and we played them for the conference championship last year, and that's never fun, but it is what it is, and I love them. And but Pat told me, "You got to be ready," because he goes, "I keep a middle drawer." And the middle drawer is for the guys that I know I'm going to want to hire. So when I run across a young guy that I love, I keep him in my middle drawer. Because when other coaches call me and say, "Hey, Pudge," or athletic directors say, "I'm looking for a head coach," I get, okay, well, then there's the right drawer, right? The upper right drawer. Those are guys that are good and you share with them. But when, I'm going to push my coaches and I'm going to help them. But when I have to replace them, is what I'm saying, I'm not going into the upper right drawer. That's the assistant coach drawer for other guys. I'm going into the middle drawer and I'm going to get that guy. And so, anyway, it's funny. So I have had guys take head jobs. I'm proud of every one of them, but I've had to replenish, and you're going to get those young guys. So you taking a chance on that 22-year-old, he'll never forget that, and he's going to be loyal to you. And again, if as long as they understand the loyalty, the first thing I was ever told by Chuck Welsh as I was a 19-year-old kid, again working at the CIA, and he brought me in to be the JV coach, and he saw me on a field in town coaching a summer all-star team in a state tournament. And he said, "Look, I'm going to tell you this one time. Okay, this is my program. If you want your own program, then you just do it the way you're supposed to do it and be a great assistant. And one day you can go take your own program, and then you get to make all the decisions." And I thought at the time, I was like, "Oh man, wow, that was kind of mean." Like I wasn't want to say that way I
Yeah.
put it, but I was like, but I got it. And I did. And then over years now, I look back and I go, man, that's just fact. Like as long as the young guys are willing to learn and listen, and you know what, I throw them in like my outfield coach Matt Sedlock does a great job. I lost T.J. Ursham. He went to have kids and open get his business going. And TJ was phenomenal, and we won state titles together. Well, he moved on, and he may be back someday. So then the next guy steps in, Matt Sedlock, right, who played at Roanoke College, and said he was a young coach. And you got and his personality. He's just a great guy, and he's got to learn the art of tough love. And so he's come along. I couldn't be more proud of him. And it's just been great. And so anyway, that it's developing coaches is as fun as developing players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. My biggest fear with him, and I've sat him down and I've talked to him about this because he's so, what's the word I'm looking for? He's so engaged, so committed to what we're doing. And I told him, I said, I'm going to be feeding you a lot of stuff. I said, but you have to take that stuff and you got to take it in small bites. I said, you cannot drink from a fire hose because you won't retain any of it.
that's
Pick
right.
something and just go with it. And then next year we'll pick something else and we'll just keep moving that way. And the next thing you know, it'll all be there. I said, so, that, like I said, that's my biggest fear with him because,
Well, I think too the art of it as well. That's great advice. For me, the art of the whole deal is being organized and structured. That practice plan is so vital. You got to put it on paper because it's teaching young guys. Because young guys, again, just because they played doesn't mean they're great coaches, right? I was a solid player, but I wasn't by no means was I a great baseball player, and or a great athlete. I was good, but not great. I was solid. I love to compete. I love to lead, but I think that helped me along the way because I've taken everything I've taken, we take from other people. But
of
like
course,
Pat said, you make it your own and you learn. And I'm hungry. I'm always to this day, I'm hungry for knowledge. I'm hungry. I want to mix it up. Every team is new, but 4 years, I don't want to give them the same stuff over and over. So like this year, we've incorporated three or four things in just our offensive set and I always keep every practice plan I've ever written. So I've got file cabinet filled with them, whether it was coaching my kids in youth league or travel or little league or all my high school plans, and I put a name on each one. They're all handwritten. I don't use computer because Coach Mack told me it's like an art form, man. It's like a Picasso or a Rembrandt. Everyone's going to have a life of its own. And so, I don't want to miss out on anything. So what I've had to do is write bigger as the years are going on because my eyes don't work as well. So, but I'll go back and like with this team reminds me of a couple other teams I've had. So because we're older and we're more mature, so I'll go back and work out of some of those practice plans. And I think that's a great reference. And but to be able to utilize, take some stuff from some college, my boys, D3 coach Adam Posey, I took a great hitting drill that works situational hitting this year. And, we call it, I call it the executioner. He calls it SIA, but anyway, just stuff like that. It's
yeah.
keeping it fresh for him.
Well, I mean, no, let's face it, if you're not a lifelong learner, then you're not going to get to the levels that you have. You have to be a lifelong learner. You have to, I know me, I'm always starving for information. And
Uh,
that's gonna lead me into what I want to really, the meat and potatoes, why I want to talk to you tonight was your presentation at the ABCA. Okay, so you went over practice organization, and I got to tell you something, Pudge. I mean, I sat there, my eyes were glued on that screen, okay,
I
taking
appreciate that. That I really do. That's means a lot coming from you, Jimmy.
no, I'm telling you. I mean, that stuff you put out there was absolutely fantastic. As a matter of fact, I told my assistant coach that we were just talking about because I made him join the ABCA. I said, go and watch this video. I said, take as much as you can from it. So anyway, let's go over it a little bit. So, I
Sure.
mean, you started out with preparing to perform. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit because again, I think that that's really important.
I just talked about say with my guys, we have a big game tomorrow night. Billy Wagner, Hall of Famers coming into town, bringing two of the top programs in Virginia. He's private, we're public, and I think kids get so amped up and they prepare to play, right? Play ball and prepare to play and do all this and have fun. But really, what we're doing in practice is we're preparing to perform. I got to prepare my guys to perform. I got to prepare them to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Tomorrow night, well, we're on national TV on Perfect Game TV, right? So, all that stuff plays into it, man. These kids know that. And there's two things we can do with pressure. We can feel it or apply it. So in practice, that's what we do when we prepare to perform. And I think that's big is we want to always apply it. The game dictates situations and we want to be able to control those. And let's be honest, I think this and as well as any coach that's done this a while, kids will overthink stuff in a heartbeat. Okay. And you got to keep baseball, even as things add up and you're installing and putting stuff in. Well, like we had, we're still working through our install days. Yesterday, day after game, we had a tough battle the other night with a tremendous team. They had 11 commits. We ended up winning 2-1. We pitched our tails off, but we got out of our approach. We saw a kid from George going to Georgetown. He was tremendous. Came into our house, which is hard to do. And he's spite, he's flipping two sliders for strikes, and that's great. But in high school, a normal high school pitcher and doing that, you can break them down. So we had to really compete, adjust in our approach, and do some things. And you can't do that unless you build that trust in practice, right? And so, that's part of preparing to perform and live in the moment. And we're a little bit older, a little more mature. We probably don't win that game last year. I told my kids that early in the season as we were a little young, and we grew into a conference champion, but it took some time, in a 15-win season. But again, I think that's when I say prepare to perform, it's not just physical, it's mental.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're talking to the right guy about mental. I believe that most of the game and most of what we should be teaching is mental. I believe that's the harder thing to teach because kids nowadays, they're tough to crack. You know, so we have to work on them so much on the mental side. But one of the things you said during that segment of your presentation, train it to trust it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, but it's so powerful.
You know what? I have a sign outside my gate on the third base side, and it has train it, and it points to the cages, and then trust it, and the arrow points to home plate. And so when we get on, we don't talk a lot in there. Like today, we did team offense. We were working today. I like to work in, approach with counts with two machines. We got two hack attacks. We got the big machines. One is fastball. Today we're working on power slider, right hand slider, because that's probably what we're going to see tomorrow night. Because Case and Wagner, Billy's son, I'm sure will be on the bump for them. And again, we can't get Fitz up here from Stoneman Douglas to come play us. So you know what? He won't come north. He only sits down there in South Florida. And anyway, Billy, that's our running joke with Fitz, and I know he's going to be listening.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know what? Kids overthink it. Like I said, in its simplest form, this game is about winning 90 feet and defending 90 feet. It's about okay. When you ask your players this, ask them team A plays team B at the end of the game when it's over, who wins? And the right answer, right, is whoever scores the most runs. That's in its simplest form. You will get 8 answers before you get that answer. You're going to get team A. Why team A? Well, I don't know. They're better. Team B, no. And the team with more hits, no, no. It's a scoreboard. Okay, I'm giving you a hint. So once we realize that it's okay to want to win, first of all. Too many people now like, oh, it's about having fun. Well, our idea of fun in high school is we like winning. Okay, we put the work in. We want to win. Why do we bunt? Because you know what? We want to win, and that's part of it, right? Why do we run and hit and run? We do both because we want to win. So anyway, you got to work on that. And so defend, if you simplify it, and again at the plate, let's win 90 feet. My goal is to score a run for my team before I go back to the dugout. Okay, we talk about the fact that a successful at bat is advancing myself or a teammate. So we have certain rules that we keep simplified. And I think that that is really important in the train it and trust it mindset.
I love it. Again, you're preaching to the choir. I constantly tell my players, okay, we're either taking 90 feet or we're giving up 90 feet. And we don't want to give up 90 feet. We want to take it as many times as we possibly can. Because again, they don't understand that 90 feet, you got a guy on first base. If you can get him to second, you're in a different position right now, and you're in a better position to score that run to win the game. You give up, again, you miss a cutoff and the guy advances from first to second. Now you're giving up that 90 feet. And again, there's a chance that you might lose. And I go over this constantly with them because I believe the game is 90 feet at a time.
Well, trust me, I like the 180s. I like the double.
Yeah.
I like the 360.
Yeah.
Okay. And the home run sexy, right? And
Yeah.
but you know what? It's just not going to be there for you all the time. And it's a product of getting square on the ball, good ball flight. I've been fortunate because I've had great players. We've won, close to 80% of our games in my career, and it's because I'm not coming off of that. There's certain things that are non-negotiable. One of them is you can't tell me that fly balls are ever going to become all of a sudden it's going to change the game. Fly balls are outs, okay? Period. Launch angle,
Easy outs.
yeah,
Easy outs.
okay. Go really do your research because even MLB they figured it out that it's barrel to ball ratio now. It's just funny how it'll change because they want to retool it. All of a sudden averages go down, strikeouts become more prevalent. Maybe it's not such a great idea because we can't win championships. Dodgers put on a clinic and not punching out last year, and I love the Yankees. I see that Yankee sign. I'm a closet Yankee fan myself, but I'll be honest. We live by the home run, you die by the home run. And so give
Absolutely.
me 90 feet at a time. Give me 180, okay? And I'm going to take those 360s when I can get them. But if we can even defend it and we can hold the running game and keep people at 90 at a time instead of giving up too many 270s, solo shots aren't going to beat you, right? Okay. But if we can minimize the who's on base before the home run, they're going to be part of the game. So again, we don't walk people. My pitchers, you can't. Again, nobody cares how hard you throw ball for. You want to pitch on my staff, you got to command the zone. If not, you'll be pitching on Saturday mornings in inter squad until you figure that out. So again, these are the things that we really believe in. It's what we go all in on, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, everything you just said, boy, oh boy, that stuff is gold, people. You got to listen to it because that's really it.
Well, don't you
Um,
think that? Don't you? You tell me. I think that I think that as kids grow, if you talk to pro guys, you talk to college guys, I think that they think there's some magic. They go, "Oh, there's more out there." My high school coach is like, this is so basic. Like, well, no, if you talk to those guys, they're simplifying. It's actually supposed to get simpler and keep it. Because you know why? A major league hitter is a major league hitter because he can turn around a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It used to be 90, low 90, mid 90s, right? But now they can turn around. It's not because they hit the curveball, it's because they can turn around a fastball that's 104. And, that's valuable. And so, again, I think that too many people don't realize that it's about simplifying.
I agree with you 100%. We work on rudiments, and I talk about it on the show all the time about the rudiments of the game, the basic parts of the game. You know, catch play, how to catch, how to
Ah,
throw. Okay.
throw it and
I
catch
mean,
it. You can make any high school roster if you throw and catch it.
that's right. Right. And, you'd be surprised. Well, I shouldn't say you'd be surprised because you've probably seen it. Um, sometimes I'm dumbfounded at how, freshmen and sophomore, they come into the program and they can't throw and they can't catch. They don't even know how to do their catch play the right way. And it's just, it's mind boggling. So we hammer those things home because I feel if we do the small things right, the wins will take care of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, you got it. That's the problem. Baseball, there's so many more options now, right? And it's not a knock on any one level, but in Little League, they practice 5, 6 times a day. And man, in Little League, you go and it's community based. And I'm a big proponent of Little League baseball. Okay. And again, I own a baseball academy. I've got teams. I don't call them travel because travel's like that word is so outdated. I call them AP, advanced placement. You play in my organization. Okay, but there's kids in middle school that come to my high school that play in some of these other superstar regional, travel programs. But IQ standpoint, it takes them a little bit of time because you got to get, we're going to develop. If you're around me, you're around my coaches or my academy, we're going to develop you. Okay, and shoot, I'd rather go play. These so many of these teams are just playing games and they don't train and they're going for pizza parties afterward, right? And they're playing baseball and they're playing 50 games a year. But and I get it, I want to play, but I always took the belief with my AP teams, advanced placement, a little better coaching, a little more baseball. Okay. And again, I just a little more baseball on top of Little League at that 12U level. I always took the mindset that I want them to play less games and practice more. And when we go play tournaments, I want them excited to be there. I don't want them to be like, there's always another game. There's always another game. There's always another game. And I think that's part of the problem. And like high school, I love, there's with spring break, we'll play 5 games down in Charleston this year. But Tuesday, Friday, we can prepare for the game. We get to practice. And I kind of approach it like football. We're going to prepare. We're preparing for Miller School tomorrow night. We're preparing. After that, we'll start preparing for Wakefield. These are out of conference games. This is what we call phase one. I break my season into 5 phases. Phase one is out of conference. Okay. It's the out of conference. Then phase two is in conference, regular season. Phase three is conference tournament. Phase four is regional tournament. And if you can get in, and if you, man, good Lord will, you get into phase five, that's state tournament. Okay. So if you keep it down and you focus on, you add up the hours, the days, the weeks, and it all kind of comes together.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, I can't, with your advanced placement teams, again, I can't agree with you more, is we need to have, whatever, travel baseball, advanced placement, whatever you want to call it, more practice than games. So last summer, I started promoting, like a small program. And that's the way I was promoting it, that we will practice more than we play games. So
Mhm.
we'll go 2 weeks practicing as much as we can in 2 weeks. And then maybe at the end of those 2 weeks, we'll go and we'll play a couple games on the weekend. Then we'll come back and we'll get back to it because, and I'm talking about doing this with like seventh and eighth graders so that we can get them ready. And, it's slow developing because people don't understand the concept. The people want to go to the tournaments. They want to go and hang out at the hotels and have a great time. It's a little vacation, right? So
You're
what
right.
I, what's that?
Yeah, you're dead on. That's it. It's status based. It's status driven.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They also want to go and they'll tell you, well, we want to play better competition. I get just as good a competition within 10 miles a year as I can go going across the state line. That's
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But,
Sorry.
but but the no, that's okay. The wind up of it was that yeah, it didn't take off the first year, but over the winter I started getting emails from people. Hey, coach, we love your concept. Are you going to be doing anything soon? Da 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 da. So I think that this fall I'll probably have it going where we're going to do this. But that's again my whole focus and my whole outlook is let's teach them the basics of the game. And
Hmm.
then once they know the basics, then we can go and we can play some games and see if what we're teaching them is working.
Well, as we've talked about the National Youth Summit, right? At our youth summit, I've been doing this thing called we call it here it started right at home called league-based travel. It's been around for years here in Northern Virginia, and because we don't want to take out Little League. Little League was my favorite time of my life. It was like, man, it was awesome. Like, okay, well, let's start with this. I talked about this in the ABCA clinic too. It starts with the why. Why do you play? Ask a kid why he plays. Well, in 12U, 11U, 10U, 9U, when they're little, it should be, and my son taught me this, my older son. Um, the why should be because it's fun. It's fun. Now, natural evolution of a player, in the evolution of a player, when they get to 12, now big field 13 or 50, 70 field, it's still got to be fun. But now I want to see how good I can be. I want to see if I can be pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Then you get to middle school and the why becomes I want to make my high school team. I want to be a high school player. Okay. And at some point, so the why is going to change. Okay. And so what I believe in is, let them play Little League. Let them be a part of that. Let them go play for fun. Let their Little League coaches. Okay. But we still can do the AP. And what AP means is league-based travel is on Sundays. We don't play house league games. We work with the Little League. We're part of the Little League here locally. And this has really grown here. And so Sundays, they get more baseball. If they pitched on Saturday, we work together. We're not going to pitch a kid. If he caught on Saturday, we're not going. We're going to be smart because catchers are the most abused players in baseball. To be
Sure.
honest with you,
Sure.
everybody talks about pitching. We got rules in place for pitchers, but God forbid, go catch a couple games, 240 pitches. Oh, go to the bump, throw a couple innings. Wow, don't worry about that kid. But anyway, so the bottom line to it is on Sundays, I would always take them after Little League. We were practicing. Like I would look for an opening Memorial Weekend. We're going to play in a big tournament. Okay, because there's no Little League baseball that weekend, right? We would work with the league to schedule a couple weekends where we could play tournaments, or I could play a game on Sunday to throw them a bone. And then during the fall, we would spend a little bit more time, even though we would play fall house league, we would do more fall or after All Stars. So again, I think there's a place for it. I think if you're smart and you work at it, we can give kids more baseball, but keep them safe and keep them heading in the right direction.
So let's elaborate on that a little bit because that interests me. The league-based travel. So is that like, we'll call it the local little league? They put together a team and they come and play against your MVP guys or
No, 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 no. I have MVP teams that come from different areas because not every league adopts league-based travel. So, but I still keep the same mindset. Okay. I'm pro Little League. I want you to play Little League. I don't
yeah,
want kids there are teams around here and there's teams everywhere that don't want Little League. They don't think Little League's good enough. Like that's silly. Williamsport should still be, Cooperstown at the end of the day, Williamsport and Cooperstown, 12U experience. Wow. Right.
yeah.
Two of the best weeks I ever spent were in Cooperstown. And, anyway. So that's all, it's all important. So what it is we just put the in the spring, we put the like the month of April, I wouldn't do anything league with the league-based travel. I call it it's a, I run the Reston Warrior program, right? I also have my MVP, my baseball academy, the Mustangs. Reston Warriors are from Reston Little League, Reston Herndon Little League. So we would, and we still do. They train during the winter at our facility. They do all those things, but during the season, April's a dead period. They play Little League. They focus on being a Little League player. Okay. And then in beginning of May, we'll start practicing on Sundays, prepping for Memorial Weekend, and that'll be a tournament. Okay, because the league we work hand in hand with the league. I'm on the board, and we literally we have shutdown weekend. We'll freeze that weekend because people can go out of town. They can do whatever. The kids that choose to play are on the AP on the Reston Warriors will play in a local big. Rob Haney does such a great job here with his Kyle's Camp tournament that will play here with a ton of teams, and it's a great weekend of baseball. And then come Monday or Tuesday, they're back in the Little League, right? And then we may, we'll get them ready. They'll go to All Stars. Once All Stars starts for Little League, we shut down again, okay? Because it's all the same kids, okay? And we're letting them play and represent their community. And then after All Stars, so mid-July till the end of July, we might play one more tournament or two more tournaments or pick up a couple games. And then August, we'll let them take a vacation and be a kid and go to the beach. We'll have another dead period. And then the fall, we put the emphasis, even though they play fall house league, it's really not like the spring. They'll play one game on Saturday, one during the week. We'll practice one day during the week, and we'll play Sunday baseball with the AP, the advanced placement teams. So, and we'll play Columbus weekend. That's a non-scheduled weekend for Little League. And then the first week in November, we'll go to Ripken over in Baltimore or something like that. And anyway, so you're playing an extra 20 games a year between, spring, summer, fall, 20 couple, but that's all they need. They don't need, but they practice 20 times.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
so I mean, I love that because I'm with you 100%. I think community-based baseball is something that we need to find a way to bring back.
Mhm.
Um, because there are, like you had said before, that people are, questing for that better competition. And well, what's happening in our area, and I'm sure this is probably in most areas. There's so many travel teams. There's kids on those travel teams that should be playing rec baseball. Those travel teams are all watered down.
Mhm.
So take those kids, take those coaches too, the coaches that are coaching those travel teams, get them back into community-based baseball, help them, train them, teach them to teach the boys. How great would that be instead of spending thousands of dollars traveling all over the world and the kids aren't getting any better because they're not practicing?
Yeah, see, I kind of like traveling all over the world, just not locally. I'm just kidding. That's
Well,
the
that's a different
MVP
story.
international plug. Europe, Japan, wherever, Australia. Like we partner with Perfect Game, and so we're handling that. We have a great partnership with them. So anyway, but that's a whole different story for a different day. But you're right. And that being said, like I said, for us, there's 4 seasons in a year here in Northern Virginia. Florida, it's different. California is different, but in Virginia, with the weather. Fall, okay. Fall is for base. We play on the field. We get on the field. We get outside. Excuse me. Winter is for training. We have an indoor facility. It's weather's 20 degrees, 25 degrees. I think that's the most important season because that's when we actually train it, and then we trust it when we play. So we do our hitting camps and we do our all that good stuff. And kids still go play basketball, play hockey, but one day a week or 2 days a week they'll come in and train. And then spring season, right? March we get outdoors and a little chilly, but March, April, May it's spring, and then you have the summer season. So there's 4 seasons to it, and kids love it. And if they want to be a part of it, and we're big on multi-sport athletes, and all that good stuff too. So
So now that was something also that you brought up that maybe we should talk a little bit about because this is something that drives me crazy. You're in a little bit different situation because you do have the facility. So I'm assuming that most of your high school players probably train in your facility in the wintertime. Is that true?
yeah, we had 720 kids train in our facility, and it's not a huge facility. We got 4 full-length tunnels. It's at 3,400 square feet, something like that. But we also do, we have a complex not too far from here where we'll in February we do infield camps, catching camps. We'll do our pitching stuff because I don't want kids throwing in November, December. Again, I want to stick to that. I'm not big on the quote unquote velocity training that starts in November and December. I'm big on like most guys. I want to give the arm a rest, give it a break, especially with younger kids, and then we'll start a throwing program, and then we'll start bullpen. So, you know what? We take pride in keeping kids healthy. That's a very important for me and for my staff. I've got 35 of the best high school coaches working in our facility in Northern Virginia, and we all take that part serious, because these kids, we want them to grow up and be healthy and have an opportunity. Um, and I think that that's the biggest part. We take them in, they train. We do a lot of hitting our facility. There's 54 quote unquote workable hours in the week for kids in school. So we're Saturday and Sunday is 8 in the morning till 9 at night. And then during the week in the wintertime, it's, we're booked from 3:30 till 9:30 at night. So, and that's just the way we do a lot of team training. So we have 42 teams in my MVP Academy from 9U all the way up to 18U. And then the high school, we have 7 or 8 high school teams that also train in our facility, not just those other coaches. So that work for us. So anyway, everybody says, why don't you get a bigger facility or have more facilities? Well, you know what? I don't, we do what we do. And, I like sleeping at night. I don't want to have to worry about having too much out there. So it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's a problem that I've dealt with players because I don't have a facility. So what winds up happening is during the winter, this kid is playing here, training with this guy's training here, this guy's training there. I've seen players that are throwing full intent bullpens in January, and
Yeah.
they come to me, and I mean it's really a problem,
Yeah.
but
We call
I have
zippers.
to.
Those are the kids that end up getting zippers. Okay. Because they have to have surgery. So,
Right.
shoulders, rotators, elbows, and well, just that's the sad part of what some people, because don't get me started. There's
I know. I'm
right.
sorry, but both of us could probably go off on it. But like just now, I've got freshmen that two of them, hey coach, my arm hurts. One guy's going to a doctor on Tuesday to get it looked at. I have another player who's a sophomore. He's got arm problems. He's been to and it just blows my mind. And
Yeah.
I'll ask the parents, and because I said, let me guess. So when he was playing travel ball up to this point, they were pitching him Friday night, 80, 90 pitches, and then they were bringing him back on Sunday, and they were throwing him 50, 60 pitches on Sunday. And they're like, Coach, how'd you know that?
Yeah.
Because his arm is falling off.
Yeah, and there's high school, like the high school, we have the National Federation rules, so we're dictated, and like I said, I own an academy and I coach kids in the summer and the fall, and we have our, I run our college placement. I coach our top groups placing kids in colleges, but I live by common sense, and we're not going to overthrow anybody. In my high school, I'm blessed to have great pitching guys, and we keep our kids on a strict count. Like we're going to cap our kids in March. Right now, we have we're fortunate to have a deep staff. We pulled Kale the other night after 4 innings in a tight 1-run baseball game, just because he was at 65 pitches, right? Or 60 couple. And so we're not going to we want them there. A, we want them healthy. We want to build it up. But B, we want to throw more kids because we want more kids available in our bullpen. And you got to trust those guys and let them learn, And, we had a lefty come in, junior, making his name. He threw 3 shutout innings and was dominant. You know, but come April, we'll extend it a little bit. And then come the end of the season, playoff time, we're going to work within the pitching rules. We always do, but I mean, we're going to extend it. So 110 is the max on a high school. You have to have your rest, all that. And honestly, I don't think it's all travel coaches. I think, there's a lot of good ones, a lot of good,
Oh
but
yeah.
the ones that do abuse kids that, and winning becomes the priority. And, I've lost plenty of tournaments and plenty of games because I did the right thing. And I got to tell you, I've never regretted that 1 minute. I don't care if I win it sounds bad, in high school we want to win. You want to, I guess maybe it's the high school coach in me. We want to win championships and do all that. But if I win a summer league tournament championship or a fall, it doesn't get me too excited. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
So hey, you know what? We're ranked 154th in the country. Woo! So you know,
But I agree with you on the pitch counts this time of year. We have our first scrimmage tomorrow night, and I will not throw anybody past 25 pitches tomorrow night.
good for
So
you.
they're going in, they're going to start ramping up. We play Saturday again, and then we play Monday again, which is tough, pretty much three in a row. But I'm going to keep them down. Then next week, we open the season. Nobody will throw more than 60 pitches next week at all. I mean, and I don't even think I probably won't even let them go that far. Around 50, I'll probably yank them. And then, like you said, then, as the season goes on now, we have, after a certain point in the season, our New York State Public High School allows them to go to 120 pitches. I
Yeah.
can
Okay.
I can tell you that I have never let a guy go. I don't think I've ever let a guy go over 100 pitches. Usually,
Mhm.
I'll get them out 92, 93, and those are rare when that happens. Because I agree with what you said. I should have horses in the bullpen that
Yeah.
can come in and give me those pitches that I would be putting on that guy's arm.
Well, it's high school baseball. Let's be honest, right? Everybody's got, the really good teams every year are going to have one or two absolute. I call it the ace of spades and the king of spades. I feel like I got the ace and the king of spades right now. When I had Bryce Eldridge, I had the ace of spades. Okay, but if you get into the bullpen in high school, you're going to win a lot of games. So that's part of the philosophy. The other night, we had a kid. This kid, was at 40 pitches after two. We were doing our job. All of a sudden, he just started bearing down and we started becoming undisciplined and we kept him around. So we had our work cut out for us, right? So if we would have kept at it and grinding at bats and making them work, instead we started chasing some stuff that we shouldn't. And we're having one pitch outs. And so because fatigue's real, fatigue within the inning and fatigue over the in duration of a game. And so, I always tell people pitch count when coach, what's my pitch count? Well, when the ball starts coming off the wall, off the barrel and hitting the wall, your pitch counts up. Okay, so again, tonight it could be 50, it could be 75. Well, but I don't know if you ever heard of Gordy Gillespie. Gordy Gillespie's a legendary college coach, and when I was first in my career, I went up to Gaithersburg and I got to hear Gordy Gillespie talk, and he's since passed, but he was, gosh, he was. Who was it? I forget who his roommate was, but anyway, one of the great ones. It might have been Wilhelm or I don't know. But anyway, Gordy said something that stuck out with me. He said, "Your arm will rust. Your arm, it's a machine. It will rust before it will rot. And if you take care of it and you wipe the rust off and you prep your arm, okay. If you think back in the 70s, there was no middle relievers. It was you had a starter, and he went." And then became the time of the closer. Then you had a starter and a closer, right? But guys weren't throwing every fifth day; they were throwing every fourth day, right? So you guys were built to throw, okay? But it's how you prepare and get the rust off, okay? And so if you don't crush a kid and overthrow him in any one day, he'll bounce back, and so it's like it takes I always tell people we take 4 weeks to get our arms in shape in January. Then we'll start bullpens, light pens, beginning of February. Okay. And again, now here's the thing you were saying kids are, I don't have a problem. I can't tell a kid what to do with their money and with their time. We're going to ask them to do some stuff. And, sure would love for them to hit with us and our coaches because it's our philosophy. So then, otherwise, then it's going to take them a long time to learn our philosophy and what our team approach is, not just the individual approach. Okay. Well, the same thing with pitching, so they go to these pitching labs and they're chasing velo and they're doing pull downs and they're doing heavy ball and they're doing, which, okay, so be it. Do what you got to do. But what I got to do is make sure it's my responsibility to make sure they're not overtraining. So there has to be a trust and a communication line. And we tell them when we start the season, you're with us. Okay, and it has to be that way, and it's for your own safety, and that's real. Like I just don't want anybody, I own that, and my pitching coaches own that, and so, again, guys are going to work with guys. They're going to hear different things. They're going to, they're going to hear launch angles hitting wise. Well, you know what? They're going to hear from me ball flight, low bullets. Okay, fly balls or outs, and if you want to go, you know what? I can show you all kinds of data. You know, get 90 at 12. 90, 12, 90 mile an hour exit velo with 12% of an angle. Again, getting flat at contact is a base hit pretty much every time in the big leagues, not just in high school. It's a line drive. I saw Billy Ripken come on a week after I had that talk, and he said plus 10, minus 10. Anywhere in that range, your major league hitters are hitting 485. Okay. And minus 10, they're hitting 385. Okay. So again, it's where it's at.
Yeah.
Again, numbers don't lie. They don't tell the whole story, but they don't lie.
Yeah. I mean, we train that way. I mean, if I can't tell you how many times comes out of my mouth, stay on top of the baseball. And again, it's not because I want them to pound it into the ground. It's
Oh,
because I
they
want
think
my
on
hand.
top. See, that's the thing, coach. They
But
think on
we
top. A lot of people think on top means ground ball or you're swinging down. No, we're cutting the baseball. We're getting flat at
exactly.
contact. It means hands above the ball. Okay. Again, get on top. If you get the barrel out on time, if you're on time, it's a line drive.
Yeah.
It's good ball flight. Okay. If you use the big part of the field, great things happen. If you work to 20% of the field, yeah, and that's what's you're gonna be a sub 300 hitter. Okay. These are facts. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have plenty of data. One of the things I don't know if I did talk about this. One of the charts, the only charts we really keep is I have one assistant coach. One of my he's a very good hitting guy. Coach Carter for me, been around a long time. He sits there. His job is he keeps line drive, fly ball, ground ball ratio, strikeouts, punch outs, hit by pitch, sacrifice. Okay. And so every ball that we square up, okay, and over time, over a season, and it's almost the same every season. On average, in the past, gosh, 15, 20 years since we've been doing it, year after year after year. Okay, when we take all the line drives, we're putting double digit numbers up. I've had a team hit 396. I've had a team for the year hit 392 as a team.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
our 0-2 undefeated team was 396. It's state record to this day. And the reason is we are accountable to it in practice. Okay. And so if we hit on average, we hit our line drives for us when we square the ball up over a season, we end up getting on base, whether it be by hit or by error, which I'm an on base guy, percentage guy.
Hmm.
We're on base 84% of the time.
Wow.
Okay. It's somewhere between 84 and 87 on average. Okay. Over the years. Okay. Ground balls in high school, in the big leagues, it's about 33%. In high school, we're at 50 to 54% of the time we're on base because they got to catch it, they got to field it, they got to throw it. Okay. Fly balls, anywhere we're 13 to 17% of the time a fly ball either lands over the fence, okay, or it finds a place to land. A kid just misplays it or drops it. So you tell me. I mean, you want to argue it, you can argue it, but I'm just telling you what it is, and so the tough part is there's some nights where you only have two line drives hit or four line drives hit. You're not square. We're working on their ball a little bit, or those are nights we got to grind, we got to bump, but we got to wear pitches. We got to take our 90 feet, got to take our walks, so the better we are at competing in the strike zone and being on our A swing or our B swing, which means be deliberate, and then our two strike approach and our damage swings, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be on the gas, but
Yeah.
we're also going to be good. Like I said, you just got to win the at bat. That's it. So
That's it. Right. What's important now? Right.
yep, what's important now? That's exactly it. Got that on the back of my shirt. So
Yeah. I mean, I use that constantly,
yeah.
that
We talk
and
about winning a lot. But the thing is, parents think, or maybe people that don't know, oh, all they do is talk about winning. No, what's important now? We talk about winning the at bat. We talk about winning the pitch. We talk about winning the next base, winning 90 feet. I mean, that's what life is. It's you go to the office, it's winning or losing, man, every day.
that's about the only thing you hear out of me coming out of the dugout during a game is win this pitch. That's
Win,
about it. That's all
win,
I say. Win
compete.
this pitch. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Sometimes some people think that's a bad word or something like compete. Come on,
Oh, yeah. We talk about how to compete all the time. And,
too competitive.
again, I used to struggle with that, right? How do you get a kid to, can you teach a kid to compete or has it got to be inherent? I used to struggle with that all the time. And then I finally realized that, yes, you can teach a kid how to compete. You got to make things tough, develop competitions in practice, make them fight against somebody else, and they'll develop that ability to compete.
Man, you just nailed it. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. We talk about that all the time. Like, when I was younger, I was so worried about confidence. Like, oh, it's a game of confidence. And, well, let me tell you what, success breeds confidence. Okay. John Thompson, you said confidence doesn't breed. There's a lot of kids that'll tell you how good they are and they can't hit at 6:30. They can hit at 5 o'clock. Okay. But let me tell you what, you barrel up a few balls and you're on the barrel, you look out. Okay. And sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. All right.
Yeah.
But the real deal is I think that, you know, it's about challenging guys. It's about, you know what, man, do hard better. We got to learn to do hard better. And you know what? Their confidence will come. Like, the game should slow down. The hardest thing we should do is practice. That should be the hardest thing we do. And we take that mindset. The game should be fun. And game night is fun when it slows down and you can stay in the moment. The other night, we locked it down defensively. The difference in this game was literally they made two mistakes and we didn't. And defensively, and our shortstop, he's a Maryland commit. He's a junior. He's a heck of a player. He didn't have a great night offensively, but man, when he left the dugout, went back in the field, short-term memory, and he made a couple plays, went to the six hole, went to the middle. Like he put on an absolute clinic, and that's what we call a dude. That's a
Yeah.
dude. The offense is going to be there some nights it's not, but man, effort and confidence, and you gotta feed off of that energy. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really important. Again, it's something that I feel that a lot of the younger players, they don't have that confidence. They don't have that fight. And, I'm always telling them, I want bulldogs. I want lions. I want guys, and I constantly feed that into them. Plus, like I said, we create that competition and we push them. And slowly you see, he's really shy and quiet as a freshman. As a sophomore, he's a little bit more, got a little more fight in him, and then a little more, and it can be done.
We
Whereas,
compete in everything we do. We compete in everything we do, just about. I mean, today we did team offense, so it's hard but you're still competing against the machines, right? So we do a lot of time stuff. We do a lot of, we'll do a skins game, which I talked about in that speech, like situational competitions. You always compete, always compete. And you said something earlier, I think was gold. Um, I'd rather have to take it out of a kid than put it in him. Like coaches get worried, like he's got a bad attitude, or he's just too hard on himself, or like no, you just gotta, you know what? But it's harder to put it into a kid. There's kids that anxiety is real, man. 2025 anxiety, or I'm scared, or if you can get a kid to admit that stuff, you can take that a long way. Because I just had a great conversation with a pitcher yesterday, man. This kid's a real talent, and I just haven't been able to put my finger on it, and I was like, you just don't take anything too serious. You're just like, kind of laugh things off. I just like to see you be a little bit more locked in and, want the ball. And he's like, Coach, I just do that because last year I felt like as a sophomore I was a little too intense, and I just, yeah, honestly, it was a little bit of fear. And I'm like, oh, now I got this. Okay, now we're having real talk. Okay, so that explains a lot. All right, well, let's find that balance of, look it in the eye, and fear's real, pressure's real. Okay, anxiety is real. So, I have an assistant coach who's a school psychologist. It's probably one of the most important guys on my staff in 2025. Everybody should have one.
yeah,
So, and so he's doing work with certain guys and we're giving them what they need. But heck, if you look at major league players now, what was his name? H. Dorfman wrote some of the best mental keys to hitting,
sure.
some of the best books. And that's when I started realizing years ago. And now all the MLB guys have they have a mental coach. They have a
Yeah,
mental, and I mean, there's something to it. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
the game's mental, right? So why
Oh,
not? That's probably the most important coach.
absolutely. And I learned that years ago. As a matter of fact, I went and I took mental performance classes so that I could learn from that instructor how to teach my players, you know, how to, set goals, how to focus, how to breathe, all of this stuff. And
Yes.
again, because I felt that it was very important. So I can't just fly by the seat of my pants. So I took these classes. Actually, the guy who was my instructor actually has become a very good friend of mine. But he taught me so much, Pudge. It's priceless.
It's interesting. I've incorporated more drills this year. And like I said, I think I mentioned Adam Posey earlier, great young coach. He's like he's going to be fun to watch. He reminds me of a young Tim Corbin. Won't surprise me if he's coaching a Power Five Division One program one day soon. But we've started incorporating more. I'm trying to get my guys' heart rate amped so they have to learn how to bring it down, believe it or not. So
That's
we've
great.
got some team drills, some offensive drills, like I told you about the execution earlier, where they'll partner up and they have to be accountable to their teammate. And if they get the situation down, they execute it, the teammate gets three damage swings. Okay, it's all known on coach pitch. And then the next time they come up, they flip. Okay. And if they don't, they got to run, touch the pole, get their heart rate up. Not the foul pole. We'll go to the bullpen. They come back and they have to get with back in the moment. And there's only six guys per group, and you let them rep it out over 10 minutes. So you're trying to move quickly, and they have to stay in the moment when they get in the box. They have to bring their heart rate back down. So we do it with our pitchers too. We do some different drills with them as well. So, and I thought we did a great job the other night. Intense moment. My left-hander, Junior, he's special. And he was amped up, but he was a year ago, he would have kind of lost that focus or lost command because of it. Here, he looks at the water tower. We have a water tower at the home of the Warhawks. He brings his heart rate down. He slows down, gets on the mound, re-engages. So again, that's the stuff that, maybe doesn't get worked on as much.
Yeah, what what we do is I want every kid, to focus, breathe when they get in the batter's box, every pitch. So I want you to look at the barrel, deep breath, fill your lungs, and let it out.
Yeah.
We train it when we're in the cages or if we're doing BP and you don't do that, I I kick you out of the cage.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, it's just conditioning to let them know that remember to do it because it's important and that brings your heart rate down. It lets you focus better. So we actually train it into them that way. So, all of this stuff is really important. I got to tell you something. Two things. Number one, we just went over an hour, okay?
Yeah.
And I could keep going. That's number one. Number two, I have a whole list of notes here, and this happens all the time when I talk to guys like you. I never even touched the notes.
There you go. That's what we do. Well, maybe I'll come back on sometime. We go into the notes.
Oh, believe me,
You
there's a lot more stuff
know?
that we got to cover. So I would love to have you back on.
Sure,
So,
whatever, man. And I got to tell you, like I said, I just love talking baseball with guys that are passionate like yourself and enjoy these. And but I got Billy Wagner, Hall of Famer, coming into town with his team from Charlottesville tomorrow night. We're gonna be on TV and all that good stuff. So I better start prepping for that. So he does a heck of a job. He's a heck of a guy. I'm so happy for him. He's a good friend, and we both are friends with Billy, and you got to listen to a conversation right before we went on. It's pretty funny.
yeah,
So, but like I said, he is. I tell everybody this. I made a big deal out of Billy having to wait to get in. He got in on the last ballot, right? But
yeah,
I always tell Billy that's because you were a closer. You weren't a starter. So, that was the baseball guys doing that to you. You should have known. I think he should have gone in first ballot because I think he's the best left-handed closer of all time without question. And I think that and dominant at that. But I said, you weren't a starting pitcher. You weren't going to go in first ballot. You're going to close. It's only fitting that you're going in
you're gonna
now.
close.
So
Yeah,
he's going to close
yeah,
it down. And but man, he's a Hall of Fame person. And again, he does so much for so many, and he's very passionate. And if you don't mind me talking about it, we're going to be working on the Global Baseball Coaches Network. Something we're starting up. It's an online community for coaches, bringing young coaches in little league, travel, AP, high school, college, and pro ball. We've got some of the best coaches in the country that have joined up, and they're going to be in our front office, and they're going to be there to mentor, and it's going to be all access on a daily basis. Monday night, we're going to do a free Zoom. Our first guest is Chipper Jones. He's going to be talking, pretty good ball player, Hall of Famer, 2018. And it's going to be fun to listen to Billy. And Billy and I will be interviewing Chipper. And again, if anybody wants to join up, just go to the Global Baseball Coaches Network, Google it, and feel free to join up and come on in and listen to hear what we're all about. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we're really trying to help the ABCA and the National High School Baseball Coaches Association, state associations. This is not an association by any means. It's an online community where we're going to share content. Younger coaches are going to have a chance to be mentored by older coaches, former players. We've got coaches from all over the world, Japan, South Korea, Latin America, Europe. So anyway, sorry to ramble, but we're real
no,
excited about this, and hopefully, we can get the word out. So.
No, don't be silly. Anytime there's something that involves coaches' education, I want to get it out there. I mean, I want to promote that every which way I can because I know
Again, yeah, the
how
game's
important it is.
growing, man. It's going global. It's so awesome. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, I'll be there,
yeah, well,
so,
thank you.
it's fantastic. Like I said, anything that has to do with coaches' education, I can't hammer it home enough that it's so important. But
Well, it's Billy Wagner, it's myself, it's Todd Fitzgerald, who's won 4 national titles at Stoneman Douglas. It's Tommy Slater, who's was the head coach at Auburn at VMI. He's currently a hitting instructor in Phillies organization, and he's been with the Yankees. Anyway, so we've got incredible people, and like I said, the list of coaches in the front office that are going to be sharing knowledge and mentoring and doing all that stuff. We're just excited about it. So.
yeah, I mean, you should be excited about it because it's a great thing that you're doing. And, I wish you all the luck with it. Like I said, I
Thank
know
you.
I'll be there. And, you know, from what you just explained to me, it can't miss. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate it. Though, like I said, there's a lot of communities out there, a lot of stuff, a lot of good content online, and this is going to be a safe place to do it. Sometimes you go on the internet and go to X and people start hammering people, and again, this is going to be a fun, safe place to grow and, for college coaches to maybe find their next assistants. And, we've got some incredible college and pro guys on here. So anyway, and we're doing this Monday night with Chipper. And then Monday night, April 21st will be our first Monday night baseball. This week's 8:30 Eastern time. And then we'll be 9 o'clock for members. Again, we've got a long list of some big time coaches, former MLB players, and so on. So, anyway, Jimmy, thanks for having me tonight, buddy. This has been awesome.
Pudge,
So,
it was my pleasure. I mean, this is fantastic. We could have kept going for hours.
let's do it again. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. And listen, good luck tomorrow night against Billy. And I'm going to text you tomorrow night. I'm going to want to know how that game went.
There you go. Well, again, if you want to watch it, just go to PGTV and you can click on it's free of charge. So, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks again, Pudge.
Hey,
It's
take care,
always a
Jimmy.
pleasure to talk.
You're the best, buddy. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Bye now. Now, is there any better way to jump back into things than to have a conversation with Mark Pudge Gjormand? I met Pudge a couple of years ago, and we've had many conversations, and I can tell you that every time I have a conversation with Pudge, I'm learning more and more stuff about how to be a good coach. I mean, his record speaks for itself. The regional titles, the conference titles, the state titles. Let's face it, he's been the coach in one place for 30 years. I mean, all of that stuff is just incredible. So I hope everybody got a lot from this episode. I know I did. I usually do. I mean, our guests are so great that they all provide us with so much information to make us better coaches so that we can help our players. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and get this, the old man has finally got us on TikTok. Keeps me young. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.